the message from Sri Lanka. But I totally agree with you, because it's not enough right now, and there are certain programs running, especially supported by Switch Asia and some other programs, to make sure like business organization involved in sustainable consumption. Coming back to your question, how young people can contribute to this one, it's because we have been trying to do the same thing to different entities and channels, but it's been very challenging. But you have to be really tricky. You have to make sure like the business organization get convinced. But again, when it comes to larger corporates, it's really difficult. But I hope so. If someone from a corporate, if they watch this program, probably they will at least start to think about it. It's not because it's really difficult for us to convince them with their business priorities. But the reality is, you should have a sense for your environment. You should have the responsibility towards your environment and earth. So once you feel that responsibility, and if you are the person who is the decision maker in that particular organization, that person will start to make the change. But also there are enough of platform to support those changes, especially, once again I'm repeating the 10YFP on SCP, because that is a global program running to support and facilitate and give all the technical knowledge to this shift. So I think it's something that we have to think about it.
Now, like you said, I think we need to take baby steps to get there. And also now, what really interests me is that you told me that the earth and preserving and conserving the environment is not a one-day thing. It has to be habitual. It has to go throughout your life. What is maybe the first thing that a person individually can do in order to contribute to that aspect in the day-to-day life and absorbing it as a lifestyle habit? What is the first step that anyone can take?
Okay, I would not make a general statement on that. I'm sorry for that. Because it depends on the person. For example, in my case, I would say one good example would be when we talk about energy efficiency, you can use public transport. But again, people will say, no, in Sri Lanka I can't use public transport. But then it's about because if you use public transport, once again, that is energy conservation, because you save energy and you don't use your private vehicle. But again, if you can use you can drive the same amount with a higher mileage vehicle, that is energy efficiency. So that is something you can practice. So it depends how you really, because it depends on your state, like what is your social background and the way your lifestyle. But in my case, I would say the simple things like I know everyone just when they go to sleep, they just put your phone on charge and sleep, and throughout like it charges for more than 12 hours, and if you can just avoid that is a simple step you can take, because in day-to-day life. And also it's the same thing about shutting down the PC before you leave office, because I see some people leave for lunch and evening coffee and just keep it switched on. And same with the AC.
Of course.
In our office sometimes we switch off the AC and go, because we know, because it's nothing to do with the cost in a big organization, but it's a responsibility, and it's something it should come within yourself.
Course, and it's good that we stepped into the concept of energy efficiency, Husni, because I think the next thing that the viewers might want to know is, what is energy efficiency? How is it different from conservation? How do you efficiently use energy?
That's a really interesting point, because people are really confused. Like some people talk about the energy conservation and the energy efficiency. Basically, energy conservation is something what I just explained. Like you don't use your vehicle, but you use the public transport, which then you support the whole this concept. But energy efficiency is about you will use the same service or product, but you make sure that the energy used in that particular service or the product is lesser than the alternative option you had.
All right.
In simple terms, I can explain in a very technical way, but I think for general public it said be something very simple. So that's why I said earlier, like you don't use your we can't just use, probably you might not be able to use public transport to travel every day. So you basically use a vehicle with a higher mileage would be one of the ways that you can highlight the importance of the energy efficiency. So that's also with the technology, because right now with the technology we have so many equipments and which really support energy efficiency. And true that cost you a lot in the beginning, not a lot, but again somewhat.
For example, when you purchase it.
Yeah,
but
again when you use it throughout, you save a lot, because we know there are certain benefits of energy efficiency.
Sure.
For example, it saves you money, and it improves your economy in general as in a country, and also don't forget that it safeguards your national security. You might ask how, because if we run out of energy, like if we face energy crisis, you really your whole country in a big trouble,
and has to depend,
and then you will have to depend on many other things. So it's a collective responsibility that we work together on these things, and also it increases the quality of your life. So we all, I mean, you might not really feel it in the beginning, but once you start to practice certain things, you will realize it's very healthy, less polluted, and also it really increases the quality of your life, which is we really should focus on. Yeah.
In that too, then what you meant was that we need to take one step at a time.
Yeah.
All right, so all about self accountability and all that coming up. So on that note, we have to go for a very short commercial break, but we'll be back with Mohammed Husni for more. Welcome back to Good Morning Sri Lanka. I'm in conversation with Mohammed Husni. I got another title. He's also the Vice Chairperson of the Commonwealth Youth Council. That's much more easier than your previous title. But then yeah, both very interesting and important titles that Mohammed Husni is holding right now at the present. But of course, we were talking about energy efficiency, preservation and conservation, EARTHA and all that. Now, we were talking about 10YFP. Mohammed Husni, and now the thing is, now we were discussing before the segment started about awareness, the policy making and implementation of it, and the fact that 10YFP actually contributes a lot, merged with so many organizations around the world. Can you maybe make the audience a little bit aware of what 10YFP does?
Yeah, well, as I said before, one area of focus is, because for example in 10YFP we have different focus areas like public procurement, tourism, and then sustainable consumption production in general. So there are certain different subcategories. At the same time, they do different things. One thing, they facilitate different programs across the region, and also they support certain like policy discussions, and also especially through the major group for children and youth, what we do is we promote the 10YFP's sustainable consumption production patterns in policy discussions to make sure that these things are debated and agreed in high level. Because, for example, earlier we were talking about the business entities and how they can practice. Yes, if that person is a responsible person who is in charge of that particular department, that person will take action. If not, what is the alternate? So then you have to come from that level where through the policies.
Who are the representing? Who are the representing agents of this kind of debate?
Basically, in the UN system right now, the most discussed topic is the post-2015 development agenda.
Right.
So right now, recently, for example, we had, as a part of the post-2015 development agenda, we have open working groups happening throughout as a part of the whole process.
And they're from all different age groups. Or it's
the open working group is one of the mechanisms how they get inputs for the post-2015 development agenda,
right,
which will be the next global agenda of 2015, which all these member countries have to accept in 2015.
Right.
So, but parallel to post-2015 discussions, there's another mechanism going on which we call it open working group, where it discusses about, you might have heard of sustainable development goals, and also it also discusses about other important areas in different sectors. So back in this January, we had the Open Working Group 7, where we discussed about sustainable consumption and production in global level in New York. So that's where we play a major role in terms of the policy, where we discuss and also we consult young people and their thoughts, and we ask what are the best options and what are the policy recommendations they can provide us. So basically, as a global focal points, we facilitate that discussion and take it to the New York. So when they discuss, you have major group it's under the Agenda 21. It was back in 1992. It was you might have heard of Agenda 21, which was like outcome of 1992 summit. So we have 9 different major groups. So major group for children and youth is one of that,
right,
which is also known as one of the active major groups, because every day something happens, and there are a very active group of young people working on this across the globe. So what we do is basically we lobby certain policy recommendation at high level, and also sometimes we might have to work with other major group, for example major group for women, major group for NGOs, and see like if we can push these recommendations forward to discussions. So that is one way that how we contribute, because we really believe that while we are doing the awareness part in regionally and nationally, it is also important that we contribute as young people to the policy discussions.
That's true.
To make sure it at one point it comes from the higher end, so that they really have to implement these concepts back in their own countries.
That's good. Husni, how do you get absorbed in that sort of into the policy making? How do you get absorbed into a level, into a standpoint where you can actually go and debate with the higher authorities?
As young people?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a very good question.
How do you take part in that sort of debate?
Basically, major group for children and youth is open for anyone, as long as you are in the category of young people, like age category. But basically, there are discussions going on. It depends on your experience and also the commitment and your vision for future, I would say, because it's about, because everything is available right now. It's about how thirsty you are to learn about it and make sure you contribute to these discussions. In terms of, but again, from major group also, they organize different capacity building sessions for young people. If they really, some people we see they're really committed, interested, but they don't know how to really get involved in policy discussions. Even the environment sector, we see like they're really committed, big activists, but they don't know how to get into that policy discussion, because they feel they are not updated, or they don't have enough information around them. So for that there are certain programs like capacity building programs, but it's more or less commitment, and also with the experience. Once you start to work with the grassroots level for some time, and then you know what are the burning issues in the grassroots level, and then as long as you can merge those gaps and discuss and take these recommendations forward, it's much easier for us to discuss about it.
Interesting.
I know, it looks like nerds, like it's too
hard work,
serious, but again, it's interesting.
it
Because as young people, it's a great opportunity, because if you can really take part in these discussions, because we see lots of people involved in awareness, which is important, but also at one point it's not only in UN level or rather in higher level, but also in our own country.
Of course.
Because that is something what young people can do, get together and do something and take that message to the politicians, decision makers, and say, why don't you practice this? We have done this and this is the model, and that is same with the corporates.